Have you ever wanted to watch Jurassic World in China? Well, you're in luck, because Jurassic Revival is here for all of our Chinese friends. Jurassic Revival is a Chinese copy of the Jurassic Park franchise that is much better than Rebirth itself. But despite its name, Jurassic Revival is not a copy of Jurassic World Rebirth, because this movie actually came out in 2022. So, technically, Jurassic World Rebirth is a copy of Jurassic Revival. That being said, Jurassic Revival is a lot of fun. Not only is it an actual high-budget movie with a lot of great-looking practical effects, it also has a better storyline than any of the Jurassic World movies. I'm not saying it's a good movie though. This movie is equally as bad as it is good. The practical effects are amazing, the camera work is really creative at times, and the action scenes are actually really fun to watch. But the digital effects are atrocious in this movie. But honestly, if you've watched enough low-budget movies, you won't even notice it anymore at this point. Jurassic Revival isn't the only Chinese Jurassic Park copy though. You also have Rise of the Jurassic and their most recent one, Return to the Jurassic. Their recent movies are kind of shameless though. I mean, just look at what I found in their trailers.
这是我们此行的目的地，哥斯达黎加海岸以西大约190公里处的一座岛屿。我们把这座岛屿叫做努布拉岛。
I mean, come on. Isla Nublar Island, the blue raptor model from Jurassic World, truly shameless. Not to mention that all of their movie plots are literally the exact same. But credit where credit is due, because visually the movies look pretty great, for the most part. So even though these movies can be called shameless copies of the Jurassic Park / World movies, they are miles ahead of any other Jurassic Park clone. It's not just Jurassic Park though. You also have Chinese clones of King Kong, Tomb Raider, and even Sharktopus. What? To be fair though, the Chinese Sharktopus looks much better than the original Sharktopus, and it doesn't even end there. There are so many Chinese creature features. I can literally scroll through these movies for hours on end. There's just so many of them. And also, almost all of them are AI posters, which is just... I don't even know what to think of that. I hate it. All of these movies are streamed on a network called Youku. Youku is a Chinese streaming network which also happens to be owned by Alibaba. So when I say that Jurassic Revival is just a Jurassic World from AliExpress, it actually is just Jurassic World from AliExpress. To be fair though, I couldn't find anything about the actual production company behind Jurassic Revival. I just know that the streaming service is actually owned by Alibaba, which I thought was pretty funny. That's it. That's the only reason I mentioned it. Anyways, I won't bother you with any more details about the Chinese movie industry. Let's just do a quick rundown of Jurassic Survival so you don't have to watch this movie for yourself. The movie opens up with the Interstellar soundtrack playing in the background.
近日，一支海洋勘测队队伍登岛保护科学家安全。本台将持续。
I'm not kidding. That's how the movie actually begins. A narrator can be heard in the background. She is speaking Chinese though, so I don't know what she's saying. But the captions tell us that a meteorite that hit Earth created a mysterious quote-unquote ghost island. A group of scientists are now researching said island in order to make new discoveries or something. We then switch to the research / expedition team who are camping out in tents and containers. Enter the main scientist who is studying a rather large looking egg, which he says that it may be hatching soon. However, one of the security guards spots a soldier crawling on the floor and tries to raise the alarm, only to get eaten by a sneaky dinosaur. We then get a classic Lost World moment as the dinosaur sniffs around one of the tents, only to then get spotted by one of the soldiers as they start to open fire. I also want to point out that the dinosaur roar used in this movie is the same roar used in the pile of shit that is Code Violet.
Look guys, that's that one thing from the
If you don't know what Code Violet is, I'll put a link to that video somewhere here on screen or something. Anyways, I just thought that was funny. Trash versus garbage. I also wanted to point out how absolutely skilled these soldiers are. Usually in monster movies, every soldier just dies instantly, but not in this movie. They are actually like combat rolling and diving and shit. The scientist tries to gather all of his research, but gets ambushed by the dinosaur. He grabs a funny looking painting off the wall in order to protect himself, which seems to have worked as the dinosaur pulls away, probably spooked by the picture. The soldiers then start throwing sticks of dynamite at the dinosaur, which seems unfazed by the explosions. This gives the scientist time to grab the egg and make a run for it. The battle then starts turning into a war zone as explosions start going off all around the area. We also get to see that these are real explosions at the end credits of the movie, which makes this whole sequence pretty impressive. The whole camp gets destroyed and the scientist gets cornered by the dinosaur. And just as the dinosaur is about to eat the scientist, we get hit by an anticlimactic title card. Onto our main character, whose name I just can't remember. She is also a scientist, but gets a surprise visit from a mafia looking guy with a classy looking goon. And when I say goon, I mean like henchman or henchwoman in this case. Anyways, the narcissistic rich man in a suit convinces our protagonist to find the quote-unquote ghost island. During this scene, we also get a picture of the scientist we saw in the opening sequence. Anyways, our protagonist denies his request to find the quote-unquote ghost island while some low quality music is playing in the background.
你的忙我帮不了，我还有很多事要忙。
Later that evening, she is doing the exact opposite of what she said and finds the quote-unquote ghost island by doing some mathematical equations. But as she goes for a midnight walk, she gets ambushed by the rich man and his goons. He steals her map and looks at it. As he opens the map, we also get to see where this supposed ghost island is, and it's just in the middle of Indonesia. Anyways, the guy casually manipulates the protagonist by talking about her father, which we now get to know is the scientist guy from before. She falls for the rage bait and tags along with the expedition to the ghost island. On the plane, we get to meet a bunch of characters. And when I say a bunch of characters, I mean two. First up is a guy named Laka. This is the comedic relief character of the movie and a so-called demolitions expert. He also got dreads and a boombox, which he just carries around at all times for some reason. The second character we get introduced to is Sangji. He is a survival expert and an obvious Chris Pratt clone. But before we get introduced to any more characters, the plane is going through some heavy turbulence and everyone is forced to jump. This whole sequence is it's really silly. Anyways, they journey further into the island as one of the guys chokes on a fly. He starts tweaking and eventually dies because of the insect, which turns out to be an extinct species from the Cretaceous period. This scene also doesn't do anything for the movie. Anyways, they continue their journey but get attacked by a giant bad CGI snake. They have an epic standoff with the snake while Laka tries to throw a bundle of dynamite at it, but he accidentally drops it on the ground. Chinese Pratt then dives in and throws the dynamite towards the snake, which just tanks the explosion like it's nothing. Everyone then just starts blasting at the giant cobra for literally 2 minutes. We do get to see some pretty cool stunts though, I guess. They then stop shooting at it for some reason, and one of the soldiers accidentally kicks Laka's boombox, which immediately starts blasting some goofy music. Laka then runs towards the boombox and turns off the music. But a new foe then enters the arena. Wow, that is the best looking dinosaur I have ever seen. It looks like one of those dinosaur statues that you might see at like a shitty dinosaur expo somewhere in the middle of like, I don't know, Romania or something. What I'm trying to say is that it looks horrendous. The dinosaur starts chasing them and we have a really short and anticlimactic chase sequence. They then hide inside of a cave, kind of like in The Lost World. The dinosaur then goes away and the mafia boss sends out one of his goons to check out if it's safe. He looks around and gives the rest of the group a thumbs up, but the dinosaur then comes out of nowhere and Goomba stomps him to death. They then start blasting away at the dinosaur again until one of the goons finds a rear exit out of the cave. Now that they are safe, they set up camp for the night. meteorite. Here they have an argument about the expedition and the protagonist wants to go home, but the mafia boss doesn't want to go home and forces everyone to stay focused on the mission. Our protagonist then gets saved by Shang-Chi and they sit around the campfire for the rest of the night. Here the protagonist and Shang-Chi talk and bond about various things, including but not limited to Shang-Chi having a humiliation fetish. Shang-Chi then hands her a gun for self-protection, but gets interrupted by Laka, who is secretly listening in on their conversation. The next morning, the group finds the abandoned outpost we saw in the opening intro. They then move into the long grass, which is always a recipe for disaster. And of course, here they get ambushed by a pack of raptors. But before we get into the action, I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the raptor animatronics. During this sequence, we get to see a bunch of cool looking shots and some pretty cool stunts. This is by far the best sequence in the whole movie. Like, it is genuinely just a really good action sequence. Better than anything in Rebirth, that's for sure. Laka then throws his signature bundle of dynamite at the raptor and the group runs to safety. Once out of the tall grass, they run into a really shitty looking valley that is full of dinosaurs, sort of. I mean, what am I even looking at? The red dinosaur then appears again and attacks the group, only to get interrupted by the dinosaur we saw in the opening sequence with someone riding on top of it. The T-Rex then kills the red dinosaur in a pretty shitty looking battle. The protagonist then starts getting flashbacks of her dad petting a horse, which immediately makes her think that this caveman looking guy is her father.
You are the father!
He looks at her and hugs her, but mistakes her for his wife. Anyways, they finally reunite after all of these years. And we also get to see how he managed to tame the T-Rex. Basically, the dinosaur we saw in the opening intro passed away. And just when she died, the egg hatched, and they became best friends. Mafia boss then explains his true plan, which was to take the meteorite that created this island in the first place. But her father refuses to tell them where the meteorite is, and he points a gun at the protagonist. The boss starts firing off a few warning shots and demands them to take them to the meteorite. They agree and go into the volcano where the meteorite is. And there's also this one suspense sound effect in the background that just keeps looping over and over and over again. The editing in this movie is atrocious. Anyways, they find the meteorite and our main cast immediately gets betrayed by the mafia boss. He ties them up and comes up with a plan to remove the meteor. Laka then comes to the rescue and hands them a knife. The mafia boss then tells Laka to blow up the meteorite, which is all Laka wants to do. His whole character is best explained as like a battle beast type character, but with explosions instead of battles. That's his whole character. He wants to blow shit up. That's his whole personality. But a pack of raptors then interrupt his fun time and they kill a bunch of the soldiers while the main cast found a way to escape captivity. The raptors continue their brutal killing spree while Shang-Chi just casually shoots the mafia boss in the shoulder. Shang-Chi and the goon lady then have an epic showdown with some pretty cool action shots, but she ends up getting shot by our protagonist, who then immediately gets held hostage by the mafia boss. He then has a fierce argument with everyone about nothing really. He then tells Laka to fulfill his destiny and blow up the meteorite. The protagonist and Shang-Chi then throw some coins to the floor and tell him that they were friends, to which we get a flashback in which we get to see a heartfelt conversation between the three guys, and Laka hands them coins as a token of their friendship. Laka then betrays the mafia boss and tells them to let the protagonist go, but promises to leave the explosions in place so that he could blow up the meteorite himself. As they walk away, the mafia boss still isn't satisfied and holds the group at gunpoint again, to which Laka throws his boombox, which happens to explode in the mafia boss's face. A boombox. That's so funny. Get it? It's called a boombox, and it exploded. Anyways, the bad guys are all dead, and our main cast sit on the beach and admire the sunset. A group of helicopter planes then arrive, and we fade to black. But before the credits start to roll, the movie attempts to give it a closed ending, as they tell us that the main cast spent 6 years in prison for breaking the local law. I'm not kidding, that's how the movie actually and definitively ends. And now the credits start to roll.
早上好，中国！现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋，但是速度与激情就比冰淇淋。
So, Jurassic Revival. Is it any good? In some ways, yeah, I guess. There are a lot of good things that are worth mentioning in this movie, like the raptor puppets, the practical effects, the crazy stunts. They were all pretty great in this movie. And during the credits, we also get to see a bunch of behind the scenes footage, which is just really cool. And they actually had some pretty crazy looking equipment too. It's really impressive. But as impressive as this movie is, there are a bunch of points that are holding it back. First of all is the editing. The editing is absolutely atrocious in this movie. Cutting from one scene to another without transitioning the audio, so it just kind of like abruptly cuts off. It just takes away from the quality of the movie itself. Did you guys see what I did there? It's really funny. The second and arguably the worst thing about this movie are the digital effects. They sucked ass. Everything that was practical was close to amazing, but as soon as the digital effects team took over, they absolutely butchered it. The digital effects are arguably the only reason why this movie is as bad as it is. And the story isn't doing them any favors either. It's just really generic and uninteresting. Same goes for the characters, except for Laka, I guess. He was a bit different in this movie, but this character trope has also been done a lot. But there are definitely some things to like about the script in general, not the story but the script. There are some pretty well executed jokes, and I thought that was pretty funny. So the script and the story is not the main reason this movie sucked. It's mostly and almost solely the digital effects. And as much as I like this movie, it's still really mid. It isn't all too interesting nor entertaining, but at least it was bearable, because there's almost non-stop action. So for that reason alone, I'll give this movie like a good 7, and it also gets to sit in B tier, I guess. And if you're new here, make sure to check out all of the other movies in this tier list if you're curious. And also, the ratings for these movies are purely based on entertainment and nothing else. Just because something is an S tier doesn't mean the quality is good, and just because something is an F tier doesn't mean the quality is bad. Even though these points they kind of weigh in on the rating, it's not the main focus of the rating. It's mostly based on entertainment, which is why the Jurassic Games is an S tier, because it's just a genuinely really fun movie to watch. Honestly, I do feel that there was a lot of potential in this movie, and it's just a shame that the digital effects and the editing were as bad as they were. Still, I do think that there are a lot of things to like about it. Anyways, I just want to quickly end this video because it's way too long for a movie like this. Next review will be shorter. I'll also be doing a stream where I'll be watching bad movies or knockoffs on YouTube, so make sure to stay posted, I guess. Ring the bell, guys, ring the bell so you guys get a notification for when I'm gonna stream. Anyways, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Not video, the next review. I'm gonna do more reviews. I hope you have a good day, and goodbye.